Egypt was the world's first major superpower, the land of the Pharaohs. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had already clearly told us before his passing that one day Muslims would conquer Egypt. But he also warned to treat the common people there kindly because they are your relatives. Not long after the Prophet's death, under the leadership of Umar ibn Khattab, the Muslims defeated the Roman and Persian empires and took over these lands. But as soon as the Muslims conquered these areas, suddenly this really dangerous disease spread all over these new areas, which not only slowed down the Muslims, but also caused all their top generals to become martyrs. This gave a chance for new generals to step up and lead the Muslims. Because of the loss of these senior generals, Hazrat Umar appointed new generals in these regions and made Ammar bin As the army chief here. After Ammar bin As became the army chief, the disease gradually started to fade away. When Hazrat Umar found out about this in Medina, he himself, to take control of the situation, he headed from Medina towards the Muslim army. But of course, before leaving, he entrusted the control of Medina and the entire Arabia to Hazrat Ali, R.A. This meant that if something had happened to Hazrat Umar during this journey, Hazrat Ali, R.A. would automatically become the new caliph of the entire empire. As soon as Hazrat Umar reached Syria, he met the new army chief, Amr bin As, who presented a bold new plan to Caliph Umar. Instead of stopping, they should move towards a whole new world, the conquest of Egypt. And not just Egypt, but beyond. You could also head towards the capital of the Roman Empire, because Egypt wasn't just any ordinary place. For thousands of years, Egypt was one of the richest regions in the world, and its power is mentioned several times in the Quran. But how did Egypt become so powerful? About 5,000 years ago, the world was a different place, and the most important thing back then was water. Whoever had the most water ruled the world. And of course, from those times until today, the biggest river has been in Egypt, the Nile River, and slowly but surely. Because of the strength of the river's water, people from all over the world started settling in Egypt, which made Egypt the most powerful region in the world. The people here became the richest in the world. Then, one of these people rose up, King Narmer, who united all of Egypt and created the world's first kingdom. But wait, this story is 5,000 years old. So how do we know all this today? Just take a close look at these two tablets. Until now, all the Egyptian writings you've seen in your life are from the world's oldest Egyptian. These writings are on two tablets where you can clearly see King Norm. Slowly, the Egyptian empire grew stronger, and for the next 1,000 years, Egypt ruled the whole world. After being the superpower for 1,000 years, the Egyptian pharaoh was sure that there was no one greater than him in the entire universe. For the first time, he made a claim no one had made before. Egypt's pharaoh didn't call himself a king, but a god. And these pharaohs introduced a religion in Egypt. Pharaoh made it so that he was the only god in the world. But you people can only get to heaven as long as you stay slaves to your god Pharaoh, so that the people of Egypt never rebel against him. So, all of Egypt started worshipping Pharaoh, but slowly, some changes began happening in this Pharaoh religion. Then a really strange idea came up, that not every Pharaoh is a god, but only the one whose body remains perfectly preserved forever after death, until the end of time, would truly be a god. So now, these pharaohs. There was a sort of competition to see who could keep their bodies safe forever. So the pharaohs started experimenting with their bodies, which is how the concept of mummies came about for the first time. Whenever a pharaoh died, the surgeons of that time would first drain all the blood from his body. Then they'd insert a hook through his nose and pull out his brain through the nose. After that, they would remove all the organs, lungs, liver, kidneys, but they always kept the heart completely safe in a jar. The pharaoh's empty body was carefully placed in water for 40 days, with a special salt mixed in. After 40 days, they took him out and filled his empty body with sand to keep its shape forever. Then they applied oil and honey on his body, wrapped it tightly with white cloth strips, and finally placed him in a very expensive coffin, along with plenty of food and drink. Gold and, most importantly, his heart were buried with him. Slowly, after death, every pharaoh started making his own mummy, and this became a pretty common thing. So now, the race to become a god after death went beyond just mummification. The new pharaohs began building huge structures not only for their mummies, but even bigger buildings on top of them. At first, these were just normal buildings and temples, but gradually, these buildings got bigger and bigger. This is how, for the first time in the world, the concept of pyramids came about. So whenever a pharaoh died, he took his mummy with him. But one after another, they started building bigger and bigger pyramids, and every pharaoh wanted his pyramid to be bigger than the last one. Slowly, these pyramids got so huge that finally one pharaoh's pyramid, Khufu's, held the title of the biggest building in the world. But after 3,500 years, that record was broken by a church in London. Still, that church didn't stand for long, and when it fell, the pyramid became the world's tallest building again. But in the future, the Eiffel Tower and other buildings took over. The record for the biggest pyramids has been broken today by the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa. We all know it's the tallest, but if you compare the weight, even if you stack 12 Burj Khalifas together, this one pyramid is still heavier. That means this pyramid is so huge, you could easily park 2,000 big trucks inside it. Now the pharaohs were busy building these pyramids, but while making them, they didn't realize how much money it actually cost. That's why this pyramid today, it's the biggest pyramid, and after this pyramid, the size of the pyramid started getting smaller and smaller. Not just the pyramids, but because of them, the entire Egyptian economy began to weaken. For the first time in thousands of years, it seemed like Egypt was finally going to lose its superpower status. As Egypt's economy got weaker, that's exactly when a small child was being sold as a slave in the Egyptian market. But this child was completely different from all the others. There was no one as beautiful as him around. There was no one, and because of that, this child was adopted by a very powerful minister of Egypt. Later on, this once enslaved boy, Yusuf al-Salam, became the prime minister of all Egypt. Yusuf al-Salam worked with the king to control the entire economy of Egypt, and the Egypt that was on the brink of collapse was turned into a superpower. But after their death, the descendants of Yusuf al-Salam and his brothers, known as Bani Israel, started living in Egypt, and in a short time, they became the most powerful people there. However, as soon as Bani Israel gained strength, when things reached their peak, a huge war suddenly broke out between two major powers in Egypt. A new pharaoh came along, wiped out the old dynasty, and established a new kingdom. This new pharaoh broke all the old rules of Egypt and set up a new system, where the most important rule was that from now on, no outsiders would be tolerated in Egypt at all. After that, of course, Israel faced very harsh oppression in Egypt, kind of like how, even today, when the new US President Donald Trump came into office, he treated immigrants from America the same way. They made a plan to get them out. As soon as the new pharaoh came to power, he shut down all of Israel's businesses and made them his slaves. And for the next 400 years, the people of Israel remained slaves to Egypt. But during those 400 years, the Israelites held on to one hope, that one day a prophet would come to free them from this harsh slavery. And exactly that happened. After 400 years, one day a magician came to the pharaoh and told him that very soon a child would be born in Egypt. A child will be born from the tribe of Bani Israel, who will end the 3,000-year-old empire of Pharaoh. Hearing this, Pharaoh was shocked and immediately ordered that from now on, every boy born to Bani Israel must be killed right after birth. After that, his soldiers went from house to house, snatching babies away and killing them. But the child they were really looking for, Musa, peace be upon him, didn't fall into their hands. They couldn't kill him. Instead, Pharaoh ended up raising this child in his own palace. What happened next is a story we all know, the story of Musa. After Prophet Salam became a prophet, he went to Pharaoh with just one demand: to free my people, the Israelites, from slavery. After many miracles, Pharaoh finally agreed and let the Israelites leave Egypt. That night, 600,000 Israelites left Egypt after 400 years and headed toward Palestine. But suddenly, something happened. Even after Pharaoh gave permission, he broke his promise and ordered his entire army to prepare for battle. Then the chase began. Moses, peace be upon him, chased after with all his might. But just as he got really close to wiping out the children of Israel, Allah saved Moses and the children of Israel right at that moment. Then he drowned Pharaoh's army and his entire force in the water. Now here's a big issue. There is no mention of Moses anywhere in the historical records, tablets, or writings of Egypt. We only find Moses' story in the Bible and the Quran. But one thing that's common between history and these holy books is, meaning every historian today, it's believed that after the death of Pharaoh Ramses during the time of Moses, peace be upon him, Egypt never really stood on its own feet again. What this means is that Moses didn't just defeat one pharaoh, he actually marked the beginning of the end for 3,000 years of Egyptian rule. Ramses was the last great pharaoh of Egypt, and he destroyed himself and his entire army because of his pride. After that, the whole world realized that Pharaoh wasn't a god, but just an ordinary human. And from here, for the first time, Egypt lost its status as a superpower. The title slowly started to fade away, and things got so bad that this period is still remembered as the Dark Ages. Not long after, a new superpower emerged in Palestine under Egypt's control, led by a king named Suleiman al-Salam. Over time, Egypt's power kept weakening until it became so fragile that many empires attacked and conquered it. One of those rulers was Alexander the Great. But after Alexander's empire, finally a new superpower, the mighty Roman Empire, took full control of Egypt. They conquered it, and for the next 600 years, the Roman Empire ruled Egypt. No one could take it from them. But finally, after 600 years, it was time for the Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, hadith to come true. Under the caliphate of Umar ibn Khattab, the Muslims stood at the doorstep of the Roman Empire, ready to take Egypt back. Subscribe.